Here's the hard truth. Most San Diego homeowners think that their home is worth more than it really is. And I get it. You're looking at your neighbor that sold back in 2021 or 2022, and you're remembering how hot the market was back then and how fast homes were flying off the shelves. And you're convinced that buyers are going to pay top dollar for your special pool, your views, your reclaimed hardwood floors, or your designer pottery barn kitchen and bathrooms. But 2025 is so far the opposite of what our previous market was, without it entirely being a buyer's market. Buyers aren't throwing cash at anything with a roof anymore. They're cautious, they're picky, they're calculated, and if your price is off, they'll skip your home in a heartbeat and keep renting for way less money without a second thought. And here's the stat that should make every seller stop and think. 42% of homes nationally have already had price cuts. That means 42% of sellers are overpriced, missed the mark, and are now chasing buyers down. If you don't know me yet, I'm Karl Kyler, your San Diego Realtor, and today I'm going to talk and share with you how to avoid being one of those sellers by pricing your home the right way in today's market. We'll do it by breaking down today's buyer psychology, what the numbers in San Diego really say, and how to price your home so it actually sells instead of just sitting on the market stale. Okay, now let's rewind for a second and remember what it was like in the hot market of 2021 and 2022. You put your home on the market and within a few days, you'd have like 20, 30, or even 40 offers. And it wasn't a question if it would sell, it was a question of how much higher above list price buyers were willing to go. Sellers had all the leverage and buyers were basically just lining up to get a shot at the home. And here's why buyers were just absolutely crazy aggressive back then. Mortgage rates were insanely low. Borrowing money at like 2.8 or even 3.5% for 30 years, that's as close to free money as you'll ever get in real estate. Buyers weren't just trying to get into a home, they were racing to lock down a rate that gave them a ridiculously monthly payment, hopefully for the rest of their lives while in that home. And I'll give you a quick example. I had a client way back then that offered $50,000 over the asking price on a home that they hadn't even seen in person. That's how desperate people were to just grab a house before rates ticked up. Now, fast forward to 2025 and it's a completely different market. Sellers are competing with way more inventory. Detached homes right now are up like 23% from last year, and then attached homes are up nearly 40%. In addition, days on market is also climbing. Detached homes are sitting for around 36 days, and then condos are closer to 42 days. And buyers, they're not rushing anymore. They're cautious, they're calculating, and they're looking for more reasons not to move forward. Instead of waiving every contingency, they're walking away from deals over like a $5,000 repair credit. And with mortgage rates double what they were in 2021, those same buyers are now running the math and asking themselves, why should I stretch for a purchase when I can just rent in the same neighborhood, the same house for thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars less in most cases? So while in 2021, you could list a home at almost any price and let the market pull it higher, in 2025, if you overshoot, you risk sitting for weeks, losing that momentum and ultimately chasing the market down with price cuts over and over. And see, that's the big question for sellers. If buyers aren't rushing to get into the market anymore and almost half of the homes are cutting prices, how do you make sure your home is one of the ones that actually sells? That's where pricing strategy comes in. The answer starts with understanding the mindset of today's buyer. Back in 2021, buyers were asking, how do I win this house before someone else does? Today, they're asking, does it even make sense at all to buy this? Think about what buyers are up against in today's market. There's mortgage rates that are double what they used to be, homeowners insurance that keeps climbing with no end in sight. God only knows how much higher it'll go. And there's an economy that feels kind of uncertain, and there's still questions around tariffs and their impact on the cost of living. And here's the kicker, renting in San Diego often looks like the smarter play right now. Rents tie up almost no money up front. The monthly payment is usually thousands and thousands less, and then landlord takes on all the headaches of maintenance and repair. The idea that rents could go up isn't even a concern for buyers nowadays because the gap is still so significant compared to actually owning. And let's not forget about the other group of buyers, the ones who already own a home. Most of them are sitting on mortgage rates in the 2s and 3s, maybe even low 4s. If they sell and buy again, which 70 to 80% of buyers are sellers, they're giving up that golden rate for a loan that's double the cost. For a lot of homeowners, that trade-off just doesn't make sense unless they absolutely have to move. As a seller, your competition isn't only the house that's down the street, the one across the freeway, or in the next zip code. It's the psychology of buyers who are comparing your home to not only cheaper rent, but also to a low mortgage payment they already have if they're a homeowner. If we can take this into account and go very micro on what your home has to offer to a potential buyer, then we'll be able to price your home in a way that gets real traction and keeps you ahead of the market, especially if the market shifts down, which I think it's not as likely to do, but let's not open that can of worms in this video. So let me give you a real world example so you can see exactly what buyers are up against. Take a home priced at 1.1 million here in San Diego. With 20% down, the monthly mortgage payment, principal, taxes, insurance, everything, the whole payment comes out to about $6,100. That's with $220,000 tied up just for the down payment. Now that exact same home would rent for about $4,400 a month. That's a $1,700 monthly difference every single month, plus none of the responsibilities of maintenance, repairs, insurance headaches, etc. And here's the kicker, even to qualify for a $6,100 monthly payment, the buyer would need to make about $163,000 a year in gross income. And that's assuming they have zero debt. And on top of that, they'd still need to come up with $220,000 in cash for the down payment. Now let's be real. The only way someone making $163,000 a year comes up with $220,000 is mom and dad are bankrolling them, either by loaning the money or letting them live rent-free for a while still paying for their dinners. Now, if you come across someone who bought like 10 or more years ago, sure, they probably have $220,000 at least in equity in the home to roll into the next one. But then you gotta ask, are they really gonna give up a rate that's 2 or 3% just to take on a new loan that costs them double? And this is exactly why overpricing in today's market is such a deadly mistake. Sellers keep believing that buyers are gonna just somehow stretch to cover these numbers. But the reality is that they can't and they won't. If your home sits there overpriced, you're essentially waiting for a unicorn buyer. You and 42% of homes before you that ended up taking a price reduction, which leads me to believe that all the sellers who say they're waiting for their unicorn buyer don't understand what that really means. Unicorns don't exist, people. First, stop looking at homes that sold in the past and start looking at what homes are selling for right now, or at least trying to. You're not competing with the house that closed 6 months ago. You're competing with the homes that buyers can tour this weekend. Here's the goal, and it's pretty simple. Create outstanding value in the eyes of the buyer. And that means your home either needs to offer more features and benefits at the same price as your competition, or it's priced lower than your competition for the same level of features. Ideally, you want to do both. You want to offer more and have a sharper price. Now think of it like this. If buyers are comparing two nearly identical properties and yours has a pool, solar, updated kitchen for the same price, you obviously win. If the homes are equal, but yours is $25,000 less, then you win. Buyers today aren't stretching to make an overpriced home work. They're choosing the one that looks like the smartest deal. That's what it means to price right in this market. Position your home so that it's the obvious choice. So here's the takeaway. Overpriced homes don't sell. Well, hold on. They do sell. They actually sell the competition. Buyers are too cautious, too calculated, and too aware of these other options. The only homes getting traction are the ones that are priced to create real value in the eyes of the buyer. And if you're overpriced, you are creating more value in the eyes of a buyer for another property. I'll let that sit with you for a second. Has there ever been a time when you saw such great value in an object because you saw that same object somewhere else for a higher price? Of course there has. You've been like, wow, this is so much lower price than it was over there. So please think twice before you price. Now, if you want to know what your home is actually worth in today's San Diego market, not last year's market, not your neighbor's fantasy number, reach out to me. I'll show you how to price it right so you're ahead of the market, not chasing it. As always, I'm Karl Kyler, your San Diego Realtor. We'll see you in the next video.